Yo, what's going on, guys? And it's Cesar Pizzo here at Lone Wolf Paintball, and we are talking tech again. This time we've got a custom 98.
It's a
Look,
98 custom. Look
yes.
at that.
And do you know why it's a 98 custom? Because it came out in 1998.
Fun fact with Pizzo.
Yes, sir. And now they're making over 2 million of these. There's been over 2 million of these made.
Yeah, so the 2 million of you need to know how to repair something.
Yes, we're going to disassemble it real quick. You're going to have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 screws that have to come out if you want to disassemble the whole marker.
What about the ASA screws? You gotta take those.
Those, you don't have to take them out completely. You can just drop them a little bit and then the half will come out. You don't have to take them out completely, just unloosen them.
Gotcha.
So basically on the earlier models, you had to take off the whole side to get to the front half and the back half of the gun. Now they have it split, the shell itself, they split it right here, where you don't have to, you can just actually work on the back half of the gun in this section here. So from here back, you're basically disassembling this one, and that one. If you want to get to the front half, you got to take these two off.
Perfect.
So here we go. We're going to disassemble here.
Nice. Now, obviously, you'd want to break open those screws because it is a clamshell, so you have to torque them down.
Yeah, you want to just break them loose with an Allen wrench, and then
just to make it easier and faster.
make it easier and quicker to come out.
Yeah.
So
you'd wanna break them loose, all that stuff. Pizzo, I've got a 98, and it's going full auto.
if it's going full auto on you, a lot of times it could be a worn out sear, or the actual back spring has not enough tension anymore. It's worn out, it's loose. So I would check the spring or the sear.
Okay.
The cheaper the two, I don't know, but usually if you check the mainspring itself, allowing it to recock better, stuff like that. So
Could it be full of paint?
well, yeah, it could be full of paint, but if it's doing an auto firing, if you got a low tank, stuff like that.
Could be that too.
So, all right,
Just fill in space while you're taking screws out.
here we go. So
Yeah.
let's get this clamshell apart. And you want to be careful because what's going to happen is the back cap is, you want it to stay on this side of the actual marker. So you got the back cap, you want it to stay back there. You want to push this in so it stays the actual bolt up against the other half. So when you're disassembling it, you want to disassemble it easy. Otherwise, you'll have parts flying out. The trigger springs, stuff like that. Just be very careful and be very cautious of when you're taking it apart, nice and easy.
So it'll look like an Acme box from like an old Looney Tunes commercial or cartoon.
Yep.
Just everything just.
It has happened to me, and
Yeah, it happens.
so
Yeah. Oof. Look at that.
look at that. So basically, right here,
Here you go. Tilt it up.
right here,
Yeah.
you got it in camera.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You got your sear right here,
Yeah.
your sear spring, and this is your mainspring. So basically, if this part of the sear, can you see this part right here?
Yep.
If this is worn out, it'll allow the hammer to roll over. If this doesn't have enough tension, it will allow the hammer to cycle. So that's what you want to do. And while I have it apart, and you want to install a 2-finger trigger, this is where you do it. So basically what you're doing is you take off this trigger guard and then you pull the trigger out. But you want to make sure that you take the tension off of the actual trigger and nothing flies out on you. Leave the pins in place. So it's real simple. Just leave everything in place, and then you can slide this one right back in it, and then you can actually put the 2-finger trigger in it, and then you can take the actual spring and just slide it back into this spot right there, and then you'll have it loaded again.
If my Tippmann 98 is, let's say, I mean, it's dirty. I've been using it for a year or two. And I just pull the trigger and it goes chunk.
Well, it's not allowing it to cock. Then what you're doing is you're having a forward thrust. The valve's not opening up. When you have it down this far broken down, if you want to get into the hammer and stuff like that, just pull that up a little bit, set it off to the side, and then go ahead and you can slide everything back. Just be careful because when you do that, you're allowing everything to come forward. This right here is the hammer O-ring. That's one of the most important O-rings on the gun itself. You want to make sure that this is lubricated. You could do this from the outside of it as well, right through that hole right there. You can use any type of oil, like sewing machine oil. I like to use Boon Juice. It's a high performance lubricant. Shake it up. You see down inside the cavity itself, it's got a little oil inside here. So basically what you're going to do is when you're on the outside of the gun, you just want to put it right here on this O-ring here, because you can get through it right through here. You don't have to disassemble it to lubricate the Tippmanns. You can do it from the outside of the gun. And then what you want to do is you want to be able to cycle it. And then what I do is I also drop 5 drops inside the ASA, and the air will put air into the valve, allowing the valve to get lubricated as well.
That's a nice little trick for mechanical guns.
So a lot of mechanical guns.
Yeah, a lot of people do that.
Yeah.
I do it sometimes with other stuff.
But if you have a secondary regulator on the gun, I don't recommend putting oil through the secondary regulator through your bottom line, because what happens is when you have a secondary regulator, you get oil on the regulator seat, and that's where you get a fluctuation in your velocity. That's the only reason why you don't do it for those type of markers.
Makes sense. Now, how about, I got another one for you. What happens when paint is just rolling out of my barrel? I'm not shooting.
Well, we're going to get into that. That's on the, on the front half. That's on the front half of the clamshell. If you want to take it apart right now and go into the front clamshell and you feel that none of this is going to pop out, you can do that. But I really recommend, if you want to get to the ball detent and clean out your front bolt, that you put this half of the back clamshell on, because what will happen is that all the other stuff will pop out on you.
For the video, though, can you just pull the whole shells off?
Yeah, I'll do that. So a lot of times what will happen is if this hammer right here is getting stuck going forward, it's because it's activated onto the sear itself. So if you want to bring the hammer in, just all you gotta do is bring the sear down, trip the sear down, oh, too much tension, and then bring it forward right there. And then you can go ahead and put your pin back in. Make sure the O-ring, this O-ring on here is used for a bumper. It's not used for sealing anything. It's more for the bumper and the hammer itself. So.
Okay. That's not too bad then.
No.
It's a lot more parts than some of the other stuff, but it's not terrible.
No, it's not complicated. And the reason why they have these caps on here is because a lot of the stocks also get mounted on the back of the clamshell right inside here, those grooves. So a lot of the tail stocks for the Custom 98s, that's where they get mounted, and you take out the back cap, and that's where they get installed. So.
How do I know? I don't remember. Is the power tube in the back half there?
The power tube is right here.
Yeah.
So it's part of the valve, and then the power tube goes up into the front bolt.
Okay.
So let's take off the front. Let's take off the front foregrip.
So while you're taking that off, how do I know when my power tube is bad?
Well, if you get no velocity out of it, if it's cracked, a lot of times people don't realize this is your velocity screw right here. What it's doing is that velocity screw goes inside the power tube, and the way your velocity goes down on a Tippmann is that it's constricting the airflow going forward. So it's basically choking out any air going down the power tube. So when that screw is in, it's not allowing as much air to go to the ball. When you unscrew it, you don't want to take it out because you think you're going to have high velocity. If you take it out, then all the air is going to vent out of the velocity screw. So you want to make sure that that's kept inside there.
No 400 FPS for you, dog.
No such thing. No such thing. So
cool.
let's.
You gotta take the barrel off to get that off, right?
Well, you don't have to, but you know, it's one of those things.
You just pull down on the front grip.
All right.
Punch that sucker out.
And now we can remove.
Now, as you're removing this front one, you want to be careful of, there's that little latch on the top.
Yeah, and what I do is I recommend leaving the feed neck on, because if you take it off, say, like, let's say you push down the feed neck and you take it off, there's a little spring.
Yeah.
There's a little spring, and then if you pull this half clamshell out, that's going to pop out with the latch. So what I do is I leave it all assembled, and what it does is it keeps the pressure this way.
That is the hardest spring to put back in.
Well, yeah, they are.
Takes me forever. I don't know, maybe it's just me.
All right. Why is this tight? I got all the screws out.
This is a good lesson in not forcing anything, because that's what happens. Things start flying.
Yep. All right, so now we want to get into the front half of this. We're going to have to loosen up the actual air tube going to the bolt, because what it's doing is it has a nut that's bringing pressure down on the front half of the shell. So let's just take off the spring here.
All right.
Let's give it a little bit, loosen it up.
Loosey-goosey.
All right. Be careful, because
Things could start
things
flying.
could fly out.
Just like that. Look at that.
All right, so
It almost did.
yep. So you've got your ball detent, which is your anti-doubler. So a lot of times what you want to do is make sure that when you put it back together, that this is in the back position and your anti-doubler is facing this position right here, where the curve is coming this way, allowing the actual ball not to roll forward. A lot of times,
Forward a little bit.
yeah, so if you have the bolt forward and what it's doing is it's putting pressure on there, it wants to pop out.
Yeah. You tip the gun a little forward.
Yeah.
There you
So when the bolt is forward and this is disassembled, it's going to want to take that ball detent and push it out. So what I recommend is that you keep everything in the back position when you put it back together. But you always want to check this. You want to check this ball detent right here if you're getting any double feed or anything. A lot of times what will happen is that this will dry rot. This will actually break right in this area right here, and the finger won't there won't be no finger there. The rubber mounting will be on the bottom side of it, but these are very inexpensive to replace. I'd say check it at least every other time you play. You can see it through the actual breech. You know, and that's what I mean is if you leave this on, this latch right here will not pop out on you.
Okay.
It's by leaving the actual feed.
Feed neck on.
Yep.
Yeah.
So.
That's smart. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, cool. Awesome. Real quick, can you go over that power tube thing? Honestly, it's one thing that I see all the time goes bad is the power tube, you know.
Right here, what they
after
do is they
20
wear
years.
out.
Yeah.
You want to make sure you lubricate it as well. Just take and
Where's that power tube again? Can you show it?
the actual, you know what? I'll disassemble the actual bolt out of this. So you're going to rotate the bolt and the actual together, the front bolt and the back bolt, and the arm, the linkage arm, is what keeps both of them together. And then you can slide this off of the power tube.
Awesome.
So, and you can lubricate this area here, and this is where you can take your actual, you know, power tube off now, and that comes out of there. So this is the nut that holds the actual valve to the body itself.
Right.
So.
Okay. Awesome. Well, that's pretty much everything. I
That's
mean,
everything
you're
on the
using oil.
actual, yeah, on the Custom 98. For preventive maintenance, I would recommend you lubricating it with a oil. I prefer the Boom Juice. It's a high performance lubricant. It'll last a long time.
No grease.
No, because
Soil.
what it does, it gets thick, gums up. Dirt, yeah, it does attract dirt. So just use an oil.
Perfect.
So I'm going to have to put this back together. I'm not going to do it on video because it's going to take a minute. So, but that's everything. If there's any other markers that you guys want us to talk about on video, hit us up in the comments below. But for next time, this is Cesar Pizzo at Lone Wolf Paintball, and shop the best source and paintball. It's lonewolfpaintball.com.